Hello viewers, welcome to the web series on the philosophy, psychology and strategy of civil services exam. To watch our previous videos, you can visit our Facebook page Nitin Rajput IAS, as well as you can find the test series for prelims on that Facebook page, or you can visit our YouTube channel. So I'm going to start a new topic today, understanding the objective and subjective part. Now, today I'm going to demonstrate one important point to you, because majority of you would think that what is there to tell in this objective and subjective part, because you understand that prelims is objective and mains is subjective, and you also understand that in prelims you have to mark uh, you know out of the given options to you, whereas in mains you have to write the answers. This is your understanding about being objective and being subjective. Actually, this is the point. This is the superficial understanding of objective and subjective. Did you ever care to go and understand the real meaning of objective and subjective? And because the real answers uh, to the very important questions that what the examiners are looking for while they are evaluating your answers, it lies over there. For this reason, I advise my candidates to have a very strong hold over their vocabulary, because every word has means many words have more than one meaning, and that way it can lead to a problem for you if you do not understand the meaning of that word. So let us look at this the meaning of objective and subjective. Objective means not influenced by personal feelings and opinions in considering and representing facts. So that is why they are not giving you the chance to bring in your feelings and opinions in the prelims. However, this is not absolute true. Now, prelims has gone to a level where they have started asking at least 4 to 5 questions, um, which are, see, again, I'm going to a deeper dimension here. For that sake, they are objective only. It means the 4 options are given to you, you have to mark only one out of them. You can also read the guidelines given by the UPSC. There it is written that you have to choose the most appropriate option and not the correct option. So from this itself, you will get the idea of what I am trying to say. The element of subjectivity I am trying to bring to your notice is there, but to a very less extent, or uh, to say that the way you prepare means if you prepare things by uh, developing your thought process, then you will be able to answer such questions. Those 4 to 5 questions, they are very important. Uh, they are very decisive. Uh, And rest of the questions, yes, they are typically objective. Now coming to the subjective part, what is the meaning of that subjective? Subjective means subject to the unique observation of the person, not verifiable by any outside standard. So, uh, subjective means they are unique to you. Your observations are unique. They belong only to you. That is why I say that main examination is the written psychological test going on. And because of this, the candidate should produce an enlightened view on the issue mentioned in the question. By the way, UPSC has not used the word subjective for the main examination directly, but UPSC used the phrase conventional essay type for the nature of questions in mains. So conventional essay type, essay involves the writer's perspective. That is how the main examination becomes subjective in nature. So once you have the clarity about the meaning of the subjective, then you are not afraid of taking your stand over there. Means actually that is the expectation of UPSC. You should take a stand. They are demanding it. But yes, you are afraid because you have not developed that ability to take a stand on different issues. That is why you try to hide behind the facts or the views of some personality. You use some quotations. This is not how it is done. If you have your original thought process, then you don't need to hide behind somebody else's statements. So definitely you can substantiate yourself, but even if those things are not coming to your mind, uh, then it's okay. Primarily, it is your decision making capability which is evaluated over there. So, with this, we have understood the meaning of the objective and the subjective part. Now, we come to a very important topic, that is tips for prelims. I've divided this into two parts. Uh, One is the general points which you need to be aware about while preparing for the prelims, and secondly, about the mistakes which the candidates make in the examination hall. So first, let us come to the general points uh, which candidates should be aware about while preparing for the prelims examination. First point is that you should start early, at least 1 year before the first attempt. This is the minimum expectation. 1 year is required. Then second point is one must integrate the preparation of prelims with the main examination. Regarding this, I have discussed in my previous videos, but in brief, I would like to tell you that uh, the nature of prelims itself has changed in such a way that the knowledge and understanding of the main examination is very helpful to clear the prelims examination. And the vice versa is also true. The way you prepare for prelims, it is going to help you a lot in the main examination. It works both ways. This is such an important dimension, but when the students ignore this dimension, then they have to put in extra effort for no reason. So that integration must be done. Then questions are not just factual, but demand thorough understanding of the topics. So if you are just a newcomer, and having no understanding of the civil service exam, you might have very wrong opinion about the prelim examination considering it to be like the rest of the one-day examinations like the bank PO, the railways, the SSC, etc. That is a highly inaccurate assessment of the civil service examination. If you enter into the field of education, if you study the subjects, only then you can understand the difference between the levels of the questions. They're not just factual. By the way, let me tell you one thing that for them means if you would have seen the prelims syllabus, then it is just indicative in nature. And because this is such a great examination, definitely people with vision, people with maturity should get entry through the prelims. And for this reason, I have focused upon this point so many times, means I will keep on focusing. It is one of the important point. But because of the immaturity, because of the lack of vision, you people only look at the prelim examination, don't want to look at the main examination. And then this mistake happens. And you also fall into the lap of some people who wants to teach you this factual things, because the teachers also, they want uh, uh, they don't want to enter into those that discussion mode, that subjective aspect, subjective areas. So because of your past experience in school, college, that is the way you have been trained. And uh, then the because of the other issues, the you know, you fall into that wrong training for prelims. They are not factual. It requires a great deal of understanding of the topics. For example, you know, some students who would have opted for subjects like geography, history, political science, they are more aware about this. If they would look at the prelims examination, then they are able to see that this question cannot be solved by studying just the basic sources. The level of this question is higher. Only someone who has studied the subject from optional point of view, that person will be able to solve this question. So UPSC is free. Well, definitely don't expect this examination to be entirely based upon just the NCRT's basic books and GC Leong Atlas, uh, like that. No, then everything will be over. Means all the intelligent people would be clearing this examination. I hope you have watched my previous videos, so you are aware about why I have used the word intelligent here. If you have not watched the videos, please go and watch to understand the difference between intelligent and intellectual. Yeah, so coming back. So accordingly, you will have to try to understand the topics, understand the issues, and then you will be ready for the prelims. And just the superficial knowledge, the memorizing part will not be sufficient. If you go according to our list of primary sources, there is a great chance you will be ready for the prelims. You know, you will be just there. But definitely UPSC uh, is aware about these things. They are going to make this, those 5, 6, 10 questions are the deciding factor. and and then your maturity about not marking the negative answers. That is also important part. Then next point is that paper 2 of prelims is qualifying in nature. So it is just qualifying. The passages are asked over there, and questions related to maths and reasoning are also asked. Those who are from science background or commerce background who have studied mathematics, for them it's not a big deal, and reasoning is the most easy part. So even those who have not been good at mathematics, you please focus upon reasoning part first, because that is achievable. You will be able to do it. There are not many chapters, and with the right training you will be able to solve those uh, questions related to the reasoning. Related to mathematics, those who were not good in mathematics at the school level, they find it difficult. And just one advice for them, that you should not panic. Don't take wrong decision. Don't prepare for those mathematics. Don't prepare for those mathematic questions like uh, a bank PO or SSC examination. Yeah, if you are preparing for bank PO SSC examination to safeguard your career, that is a very nice thing. Then automatically this problem is resolved for you. But if you belong to means that category, that you are not good in mathematics at the school level, then you just focus upon some areas, and then uh, it will be done. You should try to focus more upon the passages, the comprehension part. With right training, you can uh, in fact clear this paper too by answering those passages only. So passages are more important. For that, two things are required: great command over your English vocabulary, and your aptitude, the right aptitude for the civil service examination. That is why they call it as the CSET paper as well, aptitude test, because within those passages are not just a test of your vocabulary. They're not like the bank P or SSC examination. They're testing some qualities there with the help of those passages. So this was the point I was making, that even though it is objective, uh, uh, on the face of it, it looks like, but there is subjectivity. They they are able to check your aptitude with the help of those passages. And you can understand this thing only when you have prepared for the ethics, integrity, and aptitude paper thoroughly. Then you will be able to appreciate the point I am making here. Otherwise, as a fresher, you would just take them to be a normal, regular English comprehension uh, passages. They are means, uh, but as I told you, the decisive, only 4 or 5 questions can be the decisive factor over there. They can become your reason for failure. So I'm trying to establish uh, that point here. So I focused upon paper two, but the point I was trying to make is that it is qualifying. So if you have less time, or even otherwise, more emphasis should be paid to paper one, because that is going to be the uh, deciding factor in your entry for mains. Your performance in paper 1 only will decide whether you are going to write the main examination. So there you cannot afford to uh, have the weak areas in the subjects. Regarding the subjects I have discussed in previously as well, I can again discuss that point here in brief. The three subjects, geography, polity, and history, are more important, and three subjects, science and technology, environment, and economics, most of the times the questions are asked related to the current affairs. I've used the word most of the times. Occasionally, regular theoretical questions, subject knowledge based questions can also be asked, um, but uh, that happens occasionally. So accordingly, you have to focus upon the subjects, and yeah, current affairs is very important, because regular questions from current affairs plus, as I told you, the three subjects questions are related to current affairs, and even otherwise for your polity as well, questions related to current affairs, and for geography as well, question related to current affairs uh, are asked. So that is why current affairs become so important. So pay more attention to paper one. So I have just given you the weightage that these three subjects are more important. You need to pay more attention to them: geography, polity, history. In the same way, once you are studying a particular subject, then you have to focus upon the uh, topics. The sequencing of topics is important. For example, if I tell you for history, modern history is more important than ancient, and then least is medieval. So this is the general trend. Please follow the general trend. In the quest of trying to finish the entire syllabus, you go to the exceptional areas, and in the process, you lose command over the important areas, and that is the reason for the failure for many candidates. Don't panic. Whatever is important is important. You can verify this, whatever I'm saying. You should have different opinion. And by the way, please take opinion from the people who have themselves cleared prelims. Okay, at least I'm saying. Uh, so next point is choose your study material wisely. There are some books which are uh, very heavy in facts, like India Yearbook or Economic Survey, or even the budget itself. So don't uh, take it as a challenge to read these books back to back. That is not the way to read these books. You do get the concise editions of these uh, sources in the market. You can refer to them, but even then, uh, India Airbook is. There was a time when they were asking so many questions from this India Airbook. But yes, means this is how we study. Means I have just mentioned you that this is also a source to be looked at, but there is a way to look at it. uh, and there is a particular time to look at it. You cannot afford to pick up these such sources when the examination is near. Absolutely no way. You are you will be doomed. Don't make such strategic mistakes. The last months, at least 1.5 to 2 months, are meant for revision. You cannot afford to revision plus focusing upon the important areas. The problem with the freshers is the farther you are, they ask when they ask for the list of the books, then we suggest, okay, you read this NCRT, this basic books. The fresher would say, oh sir, I know this. This is just please more, more. But means after this, can I study this book? Can I study this book? This is their uh, thought. But when it comes to actually studying them and having command over them, then many of them they leave the field itself, and rest of them realize that having command is so important, and it takes time and effort. And then when you look at again the list of the books which should be done, then your uh, your behavior is mature. Uh, any book which is around 800, 900, 1000 pages, they don't fit into this uh, strategy for civil service exam. Then what you do? First, you give your precious time and energy to study those 1000 pages, and then you try to make notes out of them, and then you find that the notes are already available in the market or online. Somebody else has done that thing before you, because for the very simple reason, you just go and count the number of pages, how many NCRTs you need to study, and then you because see, I am limiting myself here. I cannot take the names. Some of the books are have become so high profile, and you will feel very shocking if I say you don't read them. But I've just given my point. That it is not doable. You do it in a way so that it is doable, and it helps you in uh, every way, in prelims, in mains, or be it interview. There is no point in running here and there, picking up this book for this point and this book for that point, and then always be in a state of doubt, confusion, and lack of confidence. You have to be, you need to have confidence upon you. You have to take very mature decision. All the senior players, once they have given 2 3 attempts, then they behave like this only. And the freshers behave in a different way, and that is why they lose their initial attempts. If you want to maximize your chances of success, behave maturely, and focus upon the primary sources first. Leave all those high profile books. I will not take the names. I'm not saying don't read them. I'm just saying first have command over the primary sources. Regarding those primary sources, uh, you can visit our videos for prelims. In the description of every video, you will find the source. So that most important question uh, troubling the students about which books should I read, that has been answered over there. So you have command over those primary sources, and then if you are thinking that attained command over this, then you attempt our test series. If you are able to score 50% over there, then if you uh, have time, if you are studying it full time, then you can afford to look at some of the sources beyond these primary sources. Yeah, one more point I would like to make here. Definitely, uh, I'm sitting here guiding you people, not just by studying those primary sources. You people are expected to study these subjects only from the GS point of view. And I have studied, geography and political science as optional subjects. And later on, in my last attempt, I shifted to public administration. I've studied public administration as also uh, my optional subject. And then definitely uh, my management means MBA and rest of the experiences, uh, because I have studied education actually. Uh, when I went, means somehow my approach changed, and I started looking for the bigger answers than just this thing. And definitely, I'm uh, I feel good about it that I studied it that way. So I am having this complete clarity about the nature of this examination, and I can guide you people accordingly. So the point I was trying to make is that you should not, you are not here to do the research. Your teacher should be well read. You have to focus upon the primary sources. You need to attain command over those sources, and beyond those primary sources, the extra readings and all, those things, yeah, definitely that can be done. If you are if you are giving more time to yourself, then it can be done. If you are started at the right time. But even then, I'm telling you, there also, if you means your effort can be minimized to a great extent if you have discussions about the right topics with the experienced teachers. That is why you need guidance in this civil service examination. But a very, you know, important point I'm going to make is that if you are a mature personality, if you are a very open-minded person, if you are a very keen listener, and if you are, suppose, following my videos, you know, each and every video, listening to my each and every word, automatically uh, you will be gaining so much of knowledge and experience, which is very difficult to get even from the books for you at this time. See, your objective is to clear this examination, be an IAS officer. Even my objective is that my students clear this examination. I'm not teaching you to become a teacher like me. I'm satisfied. I'm happy with what I'm doing. But I don't want you to be the teachers. There's no means there's nothing wrong in that. But you have joined this thing, and I want that you clear this examination. Don't let this thought. By the way, again, one important point has come up here: the psychological point. This is not means it is not only about teacher here. Some people have this kind of thought process that I'll join the service and after 4 or 5 years then I will leave it. I have some other plans. Please, the moment you bring such kind of thoughts to your mind, that is the end of the story. You cannot do that. It has to be a single mind target, means a single target in your mind, that you have to be the IAS officer, and not just that, that you will have to serve in bureaucracy, and you will have to retire as an IAS officer. You have to think in that context, and accordingly the rest of the things will start happening. The right thoughts will start coming to your mind. Your mind itself will give you the solutions, provided you have to keep it in a particular mold. MOULD, mold. It's a very powerful word, mold. Yes. So this is how you can, means this is in your hand. Here means for this, experience is not required. It's a very simple thing. This logic is applied in every field. You cannot think of the other option. You have to let the destiny take the shape, and accordingly you have to prepare yourself, means and then you have to give your best shot. Don't even let that thought come to your mind. But having said that, to be a IAS officer, the nature of the examination is such that you will have to acquire so many capabilities, which also include the development of intellect, vision, and character. And to do that thing, it also requires you to uh, do some projects, take up some leadership uh, positions, do something for the society. So it is not a bookish approach for this examination. But whatever you do it with the mindset of becoming an IAS officer, and then uh, rest of the things will also happen. So this topic is not over yet. Uh, we will meet in next video, and then I will finish this topic about things to be taken care of while preparing for the prelims examination. Thank you very much.